Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Hold one, Andre.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy.
Goodbye and good night.
Hold two, arm bar.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Dummy.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
Hold three, the moss covered, three-handle family grudunzel.
Mamma mia!
And now, Unchained.media presents the B Plus Podcast with your host, Greg Unchained.
It's me, Austin. It was me all along, Austin.
Number 4, armbar.
I will never retire.
I still got 200 more. I got 200 more holes to list.
All right, fellow B Plus players, welcome to the B Plus Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Unchained. Today is Tuesday. You know what that means. It's bonus episode day, and today it's This Month in Puroresu. We're talking September. We're talking October-ish, I guess, because when Arn and I get together, it's not necessarily on a fixed schedule because we live in separate continents, separate parts of the globe, and it's very difficult to always line up on the exact same week. So, you know, sometimes it bleeds over. Sometimes it's this month plus, sometimes it's this month minus. You just got to deal with it. We're going to talk about all sorts of things that happened in Japan. Joining me, of course, from across the pond, Arnold Furious. How are you?
I'm very well, sir. How are you? You're ill, aren't you?
Yeah, it's well documented at this point. People have listened to about 4 podcasts where I've been like, look, I'm recovering from a tummy bug. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. So if I need to pause for a minute to go hurl, we'll be all right. How are you, though? You just got back from Germany.
Yeah, I went over. We normally, when we'd record, would be sort of around the start of the month, sort of around sort of first weekend. But I was over in Oberhausen watching the WXW's World Tag Team League. Had a lovely time over there. It's one of those things where you just get together with a load of people from around Europe and just chill out in between the shows and stuff. So I did have to do some media stuff. We had like an interviews day. I've recorded a whole bunch of podcasts over the weekend, but the majority of the time was kind of just hanging around with other wrestling fans. And on the last night, we were at the bar in the hotel, which was like 24 hours. So we were there till like 4 a.m. I just didn't sleep all weekend. It was great.
Yeah, I had a similar experience because it was Super Showdown weekend here. So you couldn't record because you were at World Tag League in Germany. I made the flight over to Melbourne, which is in my neighbouring state, Victoria. I flew over there and went to the WWE Super Showdown, and it was preceded by a big Melbourne City wrestling show, which was easily the best live wrestling show I've ever been to. And then Wrestle Rock. Wrestle Rock was a nice palate cleanser. They just do a bunch of adult-oriented, crazy, gimmicky fun. The next day before the WWE Super Showdown, they called it Wrestle Brunch.
I love it when other companies run like little shows around the big ones. I prefer like seeing the little ones.
Yeah. They end up being more fun, to be honest with you, because that's where the real fans are and everyone's sort of hanging around. Like you said, you just hang out with a bunch of other wrestlers and wrestling fans and you have a good time.
I keep being called a hipster for preferring like the smaller shows, but it's just I like those intimate venues, like, and you get to see people like way before they're established anywhere, and you kind of get to see them building characters and stuff. I just find that fascinating watching somebody who's already on top of their game. It's like I can see that on TV every week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I came to this conclusion. People can go back and listen to, it was our 100th episode where we recapped Melbourne City Wrestling, Wrestle Rock, and the Super Showdown. We called it the Super Show Down Super Duper Spectacular. You can go back in the archives and find it. But I came to the conclusion that for me, very much the same. For me, wrestling is this, not to harp on, like, not to piggyback Progress's gimmick, but it's this punk rock thing. It's this I prefer the punk rock version of wrestling, where you're in a dingy little room with 200 to 600 other. I feel like that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
200 to 600 other people, and all piled in on top of each other, getting really loud. If it's a licensed venue, getting really drunk, and just having a really good time watching the graps. And yeah, like you said, I mean, I take pride in the fact that I've been watching Robbie Eagles for 7-8 years. And now people are about to find out who he is when he makes his way over to Japan. Well, he's been to Japan before, but he's making his way to New Japan. And there's going to be a lot of eyes on him. And I can be like, hey, I knew that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a good recommendation. So you had me watch that Eagles Osprey match, and I thought that was really like outstanding. Like Osprey has great matches with just about everybody, but like I thought Eagles in that match was exceptional. So I'm glad he's getting this opportunity.
Yeah. Well, the match he had at Melbourne City Wrestling this last weekend, we're going to get to Puroresu soon, guys, I promise. The match he had at Melbourne City Wrestling this last weekend against, of all people, Gino Gambino.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Must see. It was the best match of the entire weekend, and I'm including the Cruiserweight Championship match in that.
Wow.
Yeah, so big call, but I'm going to back it up. I'll send you the match. I'll let you use my... sorry, Melbourne City Wrestling. I'll let you use my on-call login just this once, so you can watch that match, and yeah, you can see it for yourself. Maybe you can review it for review reviews, because it was a really good match.
I intend to, yeah. From being over in WXW, there's one match over there that had a crowd reaction that is just unreal. That I think everyone has to see, which was Bobby Guns versus Ilya Dragunov, which is like the night main event.
Yeah,
the crowd for that was just incredible. I've never experienced anything like it. I don't know how it comes across on tape, but it was just 15 minutes of solid dueling chants at the start of the match. You just don't get that.
Yeah, I know you messaged me about it, and Akil messaged me about it as well. Akil told me you got to see this, and so it's going to be something we'll definitely talk about that when I sit down with Akil for this month in Puroresu.
In the building, just an incredible atmosphere, unbelievable.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, we should probably talk about the things we're here to talk about, and. Yeah, well, I'm going to start with probably the biggest news story out of Japan. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but Park has made his return.
This is huge. This is a very big story. When Pac basically let his WWE contract expire, there was a lot of speculation as to where he'd go. I think most people were just assuming he'd turn up in New Japan, where...
Yeah, I definitely did.
Well, the trouble with going to New Japan is everybody's gone to New Japan, so there's so little space in there. And I don't know if he's looked at that situation and thought, do I really want to go there and just be another junior heavyweight guy there when they've already got like a loaded junior division, where they've already got like a ton of big stars? Or do I want to go back to the roots? And what he's looked at is, in 2012, when he left the Indies to go to WWE, the last match that he had in July of 2012 was in DragonGate. And DragonGate was basically his home promotion for, I want to say 6 years, maybe 5 years, 6 years before he went to WWE. So he's basically gone back to where he was before to get back to like who he really is.
He's gone back home.
Yeah, really. And it just so happens that DragonGate had a big spot open at the top of their roster because Shingo Takagi, he told them he was going to be a freelancer, and then he signed for New Japan, which is
yeah, he pulled a Taiji Ishimori.
Yeah, he did exactly the same thing as Ishimori. Basically, if I work as a promoter in Japan right now, if somebody tells me they're going to be a freelancer, I'm like, you're going to New Japan, aren't you? Just tell me you're going to Japan.
Yeah. It's almost like it's the line that Gato or whoever's in charge of talent relations, I suppose, is feeding them. Like, yeah, look, just when you're closing up, just tell people you're
freelance. He wasn't even that long though. Like he finished up in DragonGate, and then like the next week he was in Japan. So it's like
Shingo. No, it was literally 2 days. He had a show on the 6th. The 6th was his debut, and then he had the 8th was his debut in New Japan, and he had a show on the 6th in DragonGate, was his last show. Yeah, it's insane. 2 days.
I would have preferred it if he.
So I guess he was freelance for a day.
Did a lot of freelancing work for 24 hours. To me, I'd have preferred it if Shingo Takagi had actually gone freelance, because I thought he was great in All Japan when he wrestled there, and there were opportunities, I thought, for him to go and be an actual big star around the Japanese indies before signing for New Japan. But I guess the opening was there.
Well, we don't know that he's definitely signed like a long-term contract or anything, do we? I mean, he could technically still be freelance and he's just working with them for a couple of tours.
From what I've heard, he's basically signed up because he's like a permanent part of LIJ. So as I understand it, he is. But yeah, so Pac.
How do you feel about him? Just before we get back to Park, how do you feel about Shingo going junior heavy? Because I mean, he's to me he's always been junior heavy, but people were like, no, he can work heavy and he should be heavy in New Japan.
Well, you've got DragonGate, which is basically a juniors promotion. Like nobody in there is big, and he's at the upper end almost of that scale for them. So I kind of understand him going in there. New Japan has so much talent that it's very difficult for him to go over there and go, I'm going to be a big main event star, because look at Sanada. Like, he went over there and he's been lost in the mix for ages. I think he has a better chance of shining for the company if he goes there as a junior, because he's going to be like one of their top guys in that division, because they don't have. Yeah, well,
he's filling that role. Hiromu became a megastar and then got injured, and he's stepping literally into Hiromu's spot.
Yeah.
So I think it was a brilliant move personally, but I've seen a lot of people online be like, no, why? And I'm like, I think it's brilliant.
I think you're going to see him at heavyweight at some point. Like, he will do a champion carnival. That's all Japan. He will do G1 at some point, but like, these things take time, and Gedo is like one of the most patient bookers there is out there. So like, he's looking at him long term. It's like Kenny Omega went in there as a junior heavyweight, and you don't see him complaining. Like, it worked out for him.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll go back to Park. So Park returned to Dragon Gate, joined Red, R-E-D.
I must admit, I have not watched a lot of Dragon Gate this year because their distribution service is just bizarre. So like,
it's terrible, right?
Yeah, it kind of goes up for like 2 days, so you can watch it for 2 days, and then they take it down, and then it comes back like 2 weeks later when nobody cares anymore.
And it's really hard to find.
And it's difficult to deal with.
The stuff that's not the last 2 days shows is really hard to find.
So they don't have an ideal VOD service, so I think that's really hurt them internationally. But obviously domestically, they're probably the number 2 promotion. So he's going back to a promotion that's drawing a lot of fans still, even though they've had like internal issues, like the Oriental Wrestling Entertainment split has kind of taken away from them a little bit. So Dragon Gate, to be honest with you, needed Pac. They needed another big name guy to go in there and freshen up their top end of their roster. So it's a good move for Pac because he will be a star straight away, and it's a good move for Dragon Gate because they needed another guy at the top.
Yeah. So he came in and cut a promo about how he's not the guy they remember and stuff. And so I'm really curious to see what he does, but I've only seen the debut so far, so I haven't seen anything beyond that.
Yeah, they haven't really done another big show since then, so I was tempted to watch another match, but it was just like a trios in the middle of the card somewhere, so I didn't bother. Yeah. But I saw that debut match, and like it came across like we want to make him one of our top guys going forward, which is the thing to do, really.
Yeah.
Who else do they have?
I had no idea what was going on afterwards, but it looked to me as though everyone in the locker room came out and argued over who would get to face him next. That's what it looked like. I don't know, because I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know what was actually happening. But
yeah, they definitely made a big deal out of him coming back, and I'm pleased for him getting that shot. The weird thing is with Pac is like when he went to WWE, he hadn't worked any of the major UK promotions because they weren't major promotions at the time. So like Rev Pro, before they had the New Japan hookup, so he didn't wrestle there. I'm still confused as to why Andy Q didn't book him at any point, but like he didn't wrestle in Rev Pro. He didn't wrestle in Progress because it wasn't a thing. Like Progress didn't exist when he went to WWE. So the opportunity is certainly there for him in Europe, but for him to go back into Japan first is like his calling card to go back where he feels he belongs.
Yeah, where he got his first big break. It was a big move. Like, a lot of people were waiting to see where he would pop up. And I don't think a lot of people expected Dragon Gate. And so their whole Mr. X thing, it flew under the radar. And then when he popped up, it was huge news.
Yeah. Like I say,
I mean, it got. I was watching it live, courtesy of one of the other people in the B Plus group, and yeah, it when we tweeted about it and posted about it straight away, it had to be one of the most liked, shared, and retweeted things I've ever done. Because it was one of those things where I was fortunate enough to be watching it live and catch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember what I was doing, but somebody's like, "Pax in DragonGate." And I was like, "Oh, okay." It kind of makes sense when you think about it.
It felt like our little corner of the internet exploded for that for that one evening.
Yeah, a lot of the more casual fans got really confused because it's like PAX in Japan, so he's in New Japan? No, there are other promotions in Japan. I think it's an opportunity for DragonGate to reach out to some of these fans that have only really experienced New Japan. Because DragonGate, if you've never seen it before, is just a nuts promotion. Like a load of their matches are insane.
Very athletic, but the thing is, they got to get their streaming done. Like you got to come correct if you want to get the tech savvy Western wrestling fan base.
Yeah,
you need to have an offering that works. Like Stardom is fantastic because it's in English.
Yeah, Stardom.
It's real easy to get to. New Japan's real easy to navigate. Then you get to All Japan's a little bit more difficult. DDT.
I find All Japan pretty straightforward. DDT's a little harder to sign up for, but
but DragonGate has to be the most difficult I've seen when it comes to navigating.
It's almost impenetrable.
So you got to get better with that if you want to reach out. But having Puck there will help for sure.
Yeah, it should get more eyes on them. You would think. It'd be interesting to see where else he turns up, but like. In Japan, I would say like he's going to be in DragonGate almost exclusively, so you're not going to see him in New Japan yet. Anyone that was like crying out for him to be in the Bullet Club, just no. There are other things happening in wrestling. Bullet Club has way too many guys in it already. Let's just focus.
We predicted that he would have fit in with the Bullet Club OGs. We didn't necessarily want it, but we said it would work if they wanted to do it. But yeah, no, I'm definitely happier that he's gone and done something different, because different is always good when a big star does something different, or someone who has eyes on them does something different. It draws more attention to different things.
Yeah. So I'm happy for that.
So yeah, absolutely. And more people seeing Aita. Is that how you pronounce it? Aita?
I'm never really sure, but yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah, more people seeing Aita is never a bad thing, because that dude is charismatic as hell.
He's really
he hooks you in.
I was kind of shocked when because they had him turn heel, and I was like, nah, this guy's like a blue eye all day long. Like he gets a load of sympathy heat from getting beaten up, and all his offense is really exciting. Then he turned heel, and I'm like, oh, I hate him.
Yeah, he's very good at it.
Yeah,
he's very good at it. Moving on, let's speaking of someone who's very good at what they do. The 5-star Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Utami Hayashishita. We spoke about it last month. We're going to talk about it this month again, because holy crap, what a run.
Yeah, I think we really kind of scooped everyone on this by saying, watch this girl. She's really good based on her debut match. And a month in, she's main eventing Korakuen Hall in the final of 5-star GP and having like one of my favorite matches in Stardom this year. I think probably only like Momo and Io Shirai is probably better. So that's pretty high praise, and it really was that good of a match.
Yeah, and during the 5-star Grand Prix as well. So the debut match we talked about was the match with Jungle Kyona, and during the 5-star, it went to a draw. During the 5-star Grand Prix, they had a rematch. They met each other again, and they went to another time limit draw, and it was fantastic again. So Utami and Jungle Kyona have some fantastic chemistry, and they tear it up. And I'm really looking forward to when they go at it with no time limit. But yeah, the 5-star Grand Prix final was amazing. And just her whole performance throughout the entire thing she's a rookie.
It's insane. A literal rookie. Like her first match was in, I want to say August.
So she's been doing this for a couple of months.
Yeah. But they've already got her in main events and stuff. She really is going to be one to watch. Like she already is.
Yeah. And she comes from a judo background, right? So there's already people drawing comparisons with Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. It's kind of weird that like her and Ronda Rousey have gone into pro wrestling the same year, and Ronda Rousey has this machine behind her, and she's done months and months of training with top guys to get into condition for it. But like I haven't seen her have a singles match that made me think like she is the women's star now, whereas like Utami has already had a match that I thought was exceptional, and she's had way less time in the ring. She's had way less time preparing for it. I don't know if that's just because she was in there with Mayu Iwatani, who's like one of the top 5 women's wrestlers in the world.
Yeah, that's going to help.
Yeah.
It's going to help. She's not in there wrestling Alicia Fox, which, I mean, to be fair, Alicia Fox is an absolute veteran. But, yeah, it's a different beast. The style of wrestling is a different beast.
I would definitely vote for Utami as Rookie of the Year above Ronda Rousey. And I didn't think anyone was going to knock Rousey off that spot when I saw her in that WrestleMania match. I was like, well, that's sewn up. You know, that's Rookie of the Year done. Utami has really, really impressed me, and she's done so in a short space of time.
I have her listed. I don't think we have a Rookie of the Year category when we this is going to be our first year doing any kind of awards or anything. It's our first year operating. But when I look at it, I'm looking at Breakout Star, and I think I've got her up there. Like, she's right up there for me as Breakout Star of the Year. Having
very, very limited experience in the ring. She just looked like
which is crazy.
Like from day one, she just looked like she belonged in there. And to go from that to a main event in a month and to look perfectly at place there is just incredible. That's like, imagine what she's going to be like in a couple of years' time when she's actually got some experience under her belt. We were worried about Stardom because WWE had basically taken their 2 top stars in Io Shirai this year and Kairi Sane the year before. And it kind of felt like they plundered the top end and that Stardom was really lacking in top end talent. And they used like Tony Storm to kind of fill the gap temporarily. And now you're looking at it's Mayu Iwatani, and then you've got like this new generation of stars that have come through in Utami, in Momo Watanabe, Hazuki starting to come good. So it's all the guys that they thought were going to be stars in the future and now having to fill those roles, and they're doing a bang-up job of it. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And, of course, one of the big draw cards for Stardom is Oedo Tai. And we talked about the drama last month because there was that spot with the sign and everything that happened there with Hana Kimura and Kagetsu, and it exploded on the 5-star Grand Prix final. It exploded. That chair shot was particularly weak. It wasn't as weak as Geto's chair shot, but it was heartbreaking.
Symbolic.
Yes.
It didn't need to be a hard chair shot. It just needed to be like hey, I've distracted you. Huh? What do you think of that? Kind of.
Yeah, it really was. It was like a distraction chair shot.
I'm not sure how I feel about the whole storyline. So I felt like Hana Kimura was very good at what she did in Oedo Tai. I felt like that was a good fit. Whereas, like, if she's going to be breaking away, I kind of wanted to keep that that kind of nastiness about her. Whereas, like, I feel like she in singles traditionally has been like wearing white and has been like very much the clean cut baby face. I think if they do that, I'm not sure I'll be as into it. I kind of would prefer for her to be the nastier of the two.
I'm telling you, Lady Bullet Club. That's what she's got to do. Keep the mean streak alive with a Lady Bullet Club. First time ever cross promotion. New Japan, Stardom. Everyone hates me when I say it.
There's a reason for that.
I know. I don't see Bullet Club as a dirty word because it brings eyes, man. It brings eyes.
I'm sure
like half the people who watch Japan now wouldn't watch if it wasn't for Bullet Club.
I kind of get that. It's just that I kind of enjoyed the Bullet Club a long time ago, and it feels like it was just completely played out. And and now it feels like you watch like a Ring of Honor show or something, and it's just the fans are all like, "Hey, Bullet Club." I'm like, where were you 5 years ago? Like, what? Where were you 5 years ago?
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for what it's becoming because we know that the Elite have dropping the Bullet Club name altogether. They've said that on Twitter and stuff. They're releasing their final Bullet Club style designs. They're just going to be the Elite moving forward. They're not going to be the Bullet Club. And then the Bullet Club OGs are just going to be the Bullet Club, right? I like OGs as Oceania Group because at the moment that's kind of what they are. But, I kind of like that it's going back to basics and they're rebuilding from the scratch. And I'm keen to see where it goes.
Yeah, they've done a big
and if they do
rejig
if they do want to patch over some Stardom ladies into a lady Bullet Club, I personally would be on board.
I can't swear on this podcast, but like,
You can swear. Go ahead. Tell me I'm an idiot. Go on.
It's just that's just wrong. Anyway,
Fair enough. We can agree to disagree. That's fine. But no, I get what you mean about wanting her to keep the mean streak.
yeah, they do like a yearly reshuffle of the factions in Stardom, so it'd be interesting to see what happens with Hana, whether she wants to go it alone or whether she ends up kind of allied with somebody else and just does like a bit of
Right, when they do their little draft.
yeah, a little bit of a reboot on a persona a little bit, whether she goes to the white gear and is all nice, or I don't know. She is perfectly fine as a baby face, by the way. She's done loads of work as a face.
Yeah.
So if she wants to do that run, if that's what she wants to do, then I can see it working just fine. She could like ally herself with Iwatani and those guys, and they could do like almost like the white hats versus black hats kind of approach.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
100 episodes. We made it. We made it to 100 episodes. And what better way to celebrate than by sharing Threadbox with all the B+ players across Australia. Threadbox is a subscription service for men that brings you a personalized shopping and stylist experience for any budget. You get direct email access to a personalized stylist who builds out a style profile for you and sends you all the clothes you need. So if you need singlets this month, you're going to get singlets. If you need belts this month, you're going to get belts. You let them know, and they're going to send that out to you. There are multiple packages available, and you always get more worth than you pay for because Threadbox know all the best brands. CJ and I both got deliveries this month, and amongst our new threads were KSCY, Offends, Cheap Monday, NXP, and more. So you can check out our unboxing videos on the Facebook page, or if you go to threadbox.com.au, you can check out past packages that they've sent out there. We believe in Threadbox because Threadbox want to help us, you, and men everywhere look better without all the bother of having to shop. In as low a price as $40, what more can you ask for? You're going to get more value than you pay for. Just for our fans, if you put in the code the B+15 at checkout, you're going to get 15% off your first box. Head to threadbox.com.au and use the code the B+15 to get your box today. But I'm going to be honest, that's pretty much all I have for Japan this month, like in terms of major stories for me, stuff that I've seen. So you're the guy that goes real deep, so I want you to pull me into your world. Tell me what I've missed.
There's been an interesting development with Strong Hearts. So the group that Shima has formed.
Shima, T-Hawk.
Yeah, it's part of
those guys. Lindaman.
Yeah, it's kind of an extension of what he's doing with Oriental Wrestling Entertainment. So they kind of turned that little group into like a global brand almost. So they kind of taken it out of DragonGate and into Wrestle One, and they'd had like a nice little summer run in Wrestle One, but then when it came to the big tag title match, which was T-Hawk and Lindaman against Shuji Kondo and Koji Doi, which is a really good match, by the way, took place on September 2nd. When they had that match, Strong Hearts lost. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, that was the big... That was like if the WCW had done the NWO angle and then, like, Hogan hadn't won the belt and it had just gone away. You know?
This was supposed to be the crowning
it was like they win some titles, it's part of a proper takeover, and we go from there. That didn't happen. So I thought that was a bit strange. And then they turned up in DDT. And it feels like they're kind of spreading this little brand kind of across Japan almost, but not only Japan, because they've been in Bola, they've been over to Mexico, they were in the Crash in Tijuana, wrestling over there, and they've been over in the UK wrestling for Fight Club Pro. So I'm really not sure what's going on. It's kind of like that they want to be an independent entity and kind of flip between promotions, which has created some really exciting stuff for me. And Shima has challenged Konosuke Takeshita from DDT to a match at their big show So it would be interesting to see how all that plays out and whether Strong Hearts are just guesting there on their way to somewhere else. I really don't know.
So they're kind of like a group, an entire group that's gone freelance.
Yeah, kind of.
They could show up anywhere.
Because it was the guys that he took with him from DragonGate when they did the split. So Shima, T-Hawk, Lindaman, Yamamura, and sort of Desmond Xavier and Zachary Vance are sort of part of the group as well. But he's also got all these Shaolin monks that he's been training. So Gao Jingjia was the first guy that we saw. We've now seen Duan Yingnan as well. So I really don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's curious. And the big question on my lips is, when will John Cena join the group?
It's only a matter of time, really.
With his Shao Ding Dao fist, right? Anyway, sorry, but no, it's definitely interesting. Are they like advertising OWE? Is that what it is? Is it kind of like a global tour where, you know, they wear an OWE shirt and the commentators talk about OWE?
I don't know.
Like, could that be?
Because they've been doing shows in Shanghai as well, so like there is an attempt there to build the brand up, but it just seems weird. Like Shima's used all these connections and he's just gotten them booked all over the place, and I think the strangest thing I
saw a good amount of excitement about OWE on Reddit a while ago. There was some people were posting about it, like, this is really amazing and it's going to be the next big thing. And then I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I'm really
since.
not sure what their crowds are like. We don't get that kind of reportage out of China. So it's strange. It's very strange. They've kind of done some stuff for Wrestle One, and they've done another show there since the one where they didn't win the titles. And then, of course, in DDT, and they went in, did an 8-man tag, and they've announced stuff for later, but they haven't like immediately gone back. So I don't know. It's really weird, but it's interesting.
So the question is, where do they show up next?
Yeah, I think DDT has a lot going on, so you could see them in DDT for quite a while. But then I thought they'd be in Wrestle One for like a year or something, and then go somewhere else. And they were there for like 3-4 months, and I don't know if they're still there, because they've wrestled, like last week they wrestled on one of their tour shows. It was Shima, Lindaman, and T-Hawk wrestled there. So like, I don't know. It's very weird.
It's interesting, and they're putting on good matches wherever they go, so that's what matters.
They've been really outstanding on the Japanese indies, and I got to see them in the UK when they came over, and they were great there. So yeah, they are just this traveling brand at the moment. I don't know if there is an end game, whether it's all about making this Oriental wrestling entertainment a big deal, or whether the end game is just they end up back in DragonGate as a bigger entity, having done all this global touring. I really don't know where it's going.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned you saw them in the UK. That was in Fight Club Pro, yeah?
Project Mayhem.
And Fight Club... Right, and Fight Club Pro have actually announced that they're going to Japan for they're gonna run Korakuen on Wrestle Kingdom weekend.
I think it's the 7th of January.
Yeah, so like the weekend after Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah,
this is a very strange story because they have been using a lot of Japanese talent, but there's never been like a rumbling of they were going to go and do this. Whereas Progress have said several times that they wanted to run a show at Korakuen Hall. Yeah. I know Jim Smallman in particular was very keen on running a show in Japan. But
I feel like it makes more sense. I feel like it makes more sense for Fight Club Pro. Like from what I know, it makes more sense for Fight Club Pro than Progress.
Because over the last year they've had Meiko Satomura as their champion. They've had Shima and T-Hawk wrestle for them. They've had Daisuke Sakamoto wrestle for them, and for their 100th show, which is going to be November the 30th, they've got Masato Tanaka coming over to wrestle for them. So they've definitely got those Japanese connections that other UK promotions don't have, whereas, Rev Pro is connected to New Japan. Progress doesn't have that hookup.
Yeah.
I have a bit of an inside line on it, though, so I think Progress are more likely to get aligned with Noah going forwards.
Okay.
But
that'd be interesting.
I can't tell you any more.
Fair enough. Well, that could bring more eyes to Noah. Does that mean you can't tell me anymore? But Noah, WWE, Kenta, that whole thing. It's a progressor aligned with WWE, so it makes sense. It makes sense. But Fight Club Pro running Korakuen. I mean, Fight Club Pro. I think Akil put it really well on Twitter. They're like Schrodinger's box of wrestling.
Yeah, it was like they're simultaneously like amazing and awful at the same time. And I kind of get what he's saying. Fight Club Pro for me, that's my live promotion. That's the one I go and watch live and have a great time there. I don't watch it so much on VOD.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely be watching the show from Korakuen. I think that's going to be. I think it's going to be
definitely
Samurai TV.
It's a different feel. It's a different feel watching something live. So I'm worried because I went to this Melbourne City Wrestling show and I had like the time of my life and I got quite inebriated. And I'm very worried. I've been hyping it up like this show was absolutely incredible. Best show I've ever been at. Best live crowd I've ever been at. I'm worried it's going to drop on Vimeo tomorrow and I'm going to watch it and I'm going to go, why did I tell everyone about this? But no, it was an amazing show. So it's just my paranoid brain. But yeah, no, it's definitely a different feel watching live from watching on demand.
Yeah, to be honest, I never feel like Fight Club Pro is putting on match of the year contenders or anything like that. It's just a really fun show, and they seem to get people from all over the world involved in it. Like the last show I went to had like Flamita and Bandido on it, as well as T-Hawk and Shima, which is like
that's amazing.
For that to happen, like right down the road from where I live, is just bizarre. Like imagine that 10 years ago, it just wouldn't happen.
I get that distinction. I used to play in a band. We played pop punk music, and we were never the best band, but we were always really fun. That's what we always got told. Like, you guys are really fun, and we're like, thanks. It was so I get that. Like wrestling, yeah, it's the same sort of thing. Yeah, you can have a really fun. That's what Wrestle Rock was. It was a really fun show. Yeah. It wasn't the best wrestling, but it was a fun show.
Fight Club used to be this really gritty underground show. So they'd run a place called The Fiction, which is basically like a tiny little box. And they'd be like, I think you could maybe get like 200 fans in there at a push. The lighting would be really low, so it just looked like they were wrestling in somebody's garage.
I like that.
And they used to have some really good matches, like Trent Seven when he was just all about the strikes and the strong style, and he wasn't doing any shtick at all. That was his domain. And Pete Dunne, when he was coming up, was having his best matches there. And it's all just kind of exploded out of that. And I think a lot of the British scene has kind of come from those gritty underground Fight Club shows. So it'd be interesting to see them on a larger scale doing something in Korakuen Hall. It's going to be very odd.
Yeah, it's definitely one to keep an eye on. It's an interesting development as well because of the timing of it, because they're doing it so close to Wrestle Kingdom, and it makes you think what could become of Wrestle Kingdom week in Japan, similar to WrestleMania in America. There was
definitely that feeling going about it last year, because a lot of the other promotions ran shows that same week. I don't think anyone didn't. It was like All Japan ran, Stardom, like all of the bigger promotions all ran that week, knowing there were people in internationally who would help boost their ticket sales.
It's smart. Like if I managed to get across for Wrestle Kingdom, like there's no way, like I would be so disappointed if I didn't also get to catch a Stardom show, you know? So it's smart.
Yeah,
I think it bodes well for the future. But moving on, what else did we have to talk about?
I also wanted to talk about Okami. This is another live experience kind of deal, because they were over for WXW for the World Tag Team League. So I got to watch them wrestle as part of the block.
Break it down for the listeners. Okami are...
that's Daichi Hashimoto and Hideyoshi Kamitani from Big Japan.
Right. Yes.
Hashimoto was champion quite recently until he lost to Hideki Suzuki, and Kamitani had a run with the title like the year before. Both of them didn't really get a chance to shine as the main guy. It's like the booking kind of cut the legs off a bit, and just when they were getting over, they lost. It was just
quickly. Just quickly, you mentioned he lost the title to Hideki Suzuki, who I saw last month at Iron Fist Pro. What a top dude Hideki Suzuki is. Like, the match was fantastic. He had a match with Jonah Rock, and it's up for free on YouTube. You can go watch the entire Iron Fist Pro show. So definitely check that out, people.
I'm speaking in that one.
The crowd sound does not come across. I was there, and I felt the crowd had a lot more energy than it sounds like on tape. So it's really weird when I watch it back on tape. But the Jonah Rock Hideki Suzuki match was really fun, and yeah, after the show, he was an absolute legend. He was like grabbing people, like people were coming to take photos with him, and he'd take photos with them. And then he wasn't selling any merch at this show, by the way. Just a little story about Hideki Suzuki. He didn't bring any merch with him to sell, but he would take a photo with a fan, and then he would take them by the arm to the merch table, and he would point to a random piece of merch for another wrestler and say, "You buy that one now. You buy that one." And some of the local guys got more sales because Hideki Suzuki was taking people over to the merch desk. Like, what an absolute champion that dude is. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I heard his name in there when he lost the title to Hideki. So
yeah, I do.
Shout out Hideki Suzuki. That was amazing.
I do occasionally badmouth Hideki Suzuki, but it's not really him. It's more Big Japan. It's like when
the booking.
It's like when Tim Thatcher was Evolve champion. Like, he was just really badly booked as Evolve champion. Like, he's a great wrestler. Yeah. I love him to pieces, but like that run with the Evolve title was awful. And the same with Hideki. I don't think he's had a particularly good run twice now with the Big Japan Strong title, because it's just not a very well booked promotion.
Yeah, with the Big Strong title, is he mostly having those more strong style matches, or is he getting to do a lot of the catch stuff that he's so good at?
It's kind of overdone. There's a lot of mat stuff when that division is kind of based on the more hard hitting style, which I know he's capable of, but like they've been having almost sleepy main events after energized undercards, and it's not really appropriate, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. You could probably have the same criticism of this match if you watch the match before it on the show as well, on the Iron Fist Pro show. Like, if you go to the YouTube and watch this show, you can probably have the exact same criticism because the main event, the semi-main, which is a tag team match between some of the best tag teams in the country, and and to have that tag team match followed, it was a very exciting match with high flyers, followed by Hideki Suzuki and Jonah Rock, which you can imagine what the match is going to be like. It starts out with a bit of a catch wrestling clinic, and they end up outside and brawling around, and then into a strike fest. And yeah, it's a different kind of match, and so you can probably have the same criticism there of that one.
Yeah, this is basically where most people's criticism of Hideki is coming from. It's not so much him, because he's just been put in this position, because obviously he's a great professional wrestler, but like the matches that he's having are just not appropriate to the positions that they are on the cards, and it's not really working too well. Whereas he has had like a lot of shorter matches that have been great. With he had one with Takuya Nomura, which was fantastic. It was like 10 minutes long, and the story there was like he's the big bully boss, and you've got the undercard up and coming young guy who's coming after him, and that worked fantastically well. But like when he's having these main events with established guys, they're just not as good.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and I can attest to him just being a top dude as well, from my experience and from the promoter who I'm friends with, and his experience with Hideki, just an absolute legend of a guy. So, but yeah, we've gone off on a tangent again. We were talking about Okami.
Yeah, that was a slight tangent there. So Okami came over to Germany as part of WXW World Tag Team League. I don't know if you saw the groups for this. Do you know who else was in their block?
I did, but when I looked at it was weeks ago, and I've been through a lot.
So yeah, I know. So the block that they're in, right? The other teams were CCK, which was Brooks and Gresham, Ringkampf, which is Volta and Timothy Thatcher, and the Lucha Bros, Penta and Ray Phoenix. So they were in this incredible group with like 3 other great tag teams. Every single match they had over the weekend was phenomenal. And if there's ever like an advert for 2 guys where they've just gone out and just busted their gut in another country, this weekend was just a great weekend for Okami as a duo. And I think they've gained valuable experience, but they've shown at the same time that they can hang with anyone. And the crowd, after their last match where they were officially eliminated, the crowd chanted "Please come back" at them for quite a while, and you can see them coming back over because they were terrific.
That's awesome. So that's another one for people to look out for is Okami. And I guess you had a couple of match recommendations that you wanted to get into.
Yeah, I wanted to just get into a couple of matches before we go. Before recording, like literally half an hour before recording, somebody had told me I had to see this match from Oz Academy, which was Aja Kong challenging for the Oz Academy openweight title, which was held by Hikaru Shida. Excuse me. And I have to tell you, this is one of the best women's matches from Japan this year. And Aja Kong's 48 is almost completely immobile, slow as hell. The match that they had, it was just so good. Aja destroys Shida's leg, like all the way through to the point where Shida can barely walk, and Kong takes like this shot to the head and ends up getting busted open hard way, and then Shida's throwing everything she possibly can at Aja to keep her down and can't. They did like a bunch of like insane high spots, like a brain buster on the ramp, and Shida's like dead on the floor and like crawling back in to beat the count. And the selling was so good all the way through, and it was just so emotional. And you got to see this match.
It surprises me to hear that, because the last match I saw of Aja Kong was at Wrestle Queendom with, I think it was Piper. Viper?
Yeah.
Right. I always get confused with her name. Anyway, Viper. And it was a good match for what it was, but, you know, it wasn't an Aja Kong.
No. Well, Aja is getting on in years, and you're not going to see
of course.
a lot of good matches from her anymore. You're just going to get the presence, and like anything else is a bonus. But this match was Shida.
That's why I say it was good for what it was, because it was about the presence. It was about the spectacle of this is Aja Kong. It was her first match in the UK, I think, and it was a big thing, but it wasn't a good match.
No,
per se.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
This match with Shida really is. It kind of reminded me of Vader versus Shawn Michaels from like 96. It was that kind of style. You had Kong as the unbeatable monster, Shida just getting her ass kicked all the way through the match, and then just coming back, firing back at the finish. The blood from Kong was like a bonus, and both of them just gave everything. It was just an incredible match. And I'm just coming off watching it like half an hour ago, so I'm aware that it's fresh in my mind. But it really needs to be seen.
That's awesome. So that's one for people to look out for. And there was one other that you mentioned to me, the Nakajima match from Noah.
Yeah, Nakajima had his title shot against Takeshi Shigeru in Noah. That was October the 4th, so we're kind of spilling over into October a little bit. But it's probably Noah match of the year, I would say. Really, really hard-hitting match, even by Noah's standards. They beat the holy hell out of each other. Nakajima's kicks in this were making me wince, because he was just landing them, and Shigeru was trying to absorb them, like he was trying to go be a tough guy and take those shots. And you could see the pain on his face, because he was just getting like shoot kicked in the chest, full force.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
It was very, very
brutal. Yeah.
So
that was on the 4th, October the 4th for Noah.
For Noah, that comes highly recommended. Apparently, it was a very good card all the way through, but I only got the chance to see the main event. I had to do a bit of cherry picking after coming back from Germany.
Yeah, of course. And I've been the same. I've had to, I've struggled to catch up on everything that I need to catch up on, but I'm sort of just getting through it now. And I guess that does it for us here for this month in Puroresu. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
There's one other match recommendation which will go in the notes, and that was Ryota Nakatsu and Naoki Tanizaki had a really good match for BASARA on September the 21st. I don't really have time to go into the details of it, but that was a really good match. So that's going in the recommendations as well.
Yeah, and people will be able to find in the show notes your match recommendations, and I like to put in one match recommendation, so I'll throw one in that you haven't included, which I think at this point it will probably be the Utami versus Jungle Kyona rematch, because I don't think you have that.
That's kind of nice, because I already have two women's recommendations in there, so that will be almost a 50-50 split.
Well, there you go. So I'm going to throw that recommendation in, and those will all be available in the show notes. Before we go, where can people find you, Arn?
They can find me on Twitter at Arnold Furious. The website that I write for is rearviewreviews.com.
Right, and I am at Greg Unchained on Twitter, at the Greg Unchained on Instagram. We collectively are the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit the B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. And thank you so much for listening.
Hold one. Arm drag.
You're not doing this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy.
Goodbye and good night.
Hold two. Arm bar.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
It's still real to me, damn it. Dummy.
Hold three. The moss covered. Three-handle family credential.
Mamma mia! It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Number 4. Armbar.